What's up everybody? In this video I will show you a pretty cracked daily artifact farming routine I've been doing personally for the past couple of months as a free-to-play / low budget spender in Genshin Impact. Like I said, I do this almost every day and it doesn't really take a lot of time. It usually only takes me about like 15 minutes max when I use Mona for it, so the suffering wouldn't be as bad as you might think. I will show you all the artifact locations that would respawn throughout Travat and the best routes to get them all in the most time efficient way that I've personally experienced. Alright, so the first location I'll be covering is the generic region surrounding Mount Alzon. This area is quite packed, having a total of 11 investigation thingy-drabobs, in which 4 of them are in treasure hoarder camps that have a respawn on a 12-hour clock. So if you wanted to be a total tryhard and mess up your sleep schedule just for a couple more artifacts, I mean, you can go for it. Okay, so for this first spot, you want to TP to the waypoint between Mount Aozang and the Stone Forest. Yeet yourself off the cliff. Glide all the way over to this little barrel thing, I suppose. You should find 2 spots, one next to this pot. Also watch out, sometimes if you don't catch the artifacts fast enough, they go into this bush and it gets a bit annoying. And there should be another one in this crater here. The third spot does require a bit of gliding and running, but as long as you have Mona or a double Animo team, it shouldn't take that long. Next up, teleport to this point in the ravine. And there should be an artifact point over here, and also one behind the house. Do note that the treasure hoarder camp at the end respawns on a 12-hour clock. And after you commit war crimes, there's a spot like right here. The third spot I go, there isn't really a name here, but it's just like this generic area. There is one spot here with a treasure hoarder camp, and another spot here with some carts. The order you go through them doesn't really matter because the distance is more about, like, more or less the same, but I will say void grass or whatever this plant is does spawn on the side of the cliff. So what I do usually is, if they do spawn, I glide from the side and yoink these and go for the carts first. And when they don't, I go for the camp first, because it literally doesn't matter. They're more or less the same distance. Yoink. Alright, so in the treasure hoarder camp, there should be 3 spots. One in this pouch, one in this side baggie, I guess. And the third one will be next to the sleeping dude. Next to their surfboard. Oh, you wanna go, mate? You wanna go? So Wangshun Inn is probably my favorite out of the entire map, mostly just because it doesn't require a lot of brain cells. It's just one big chain, plus 2 on the side, I guess. TP to the waypoint across Wangshun Inn. You should find a spot behind the teleport point next to this broken cart. After that, turn back around and go towards the abandoned village. There, you should find artifacts in this box next to a boar. Some in this cracked ship, as well as some boxes next to this house. Alright, so the next 2 spots here are a bit trippy, so I'm gonna take this time to explain it a bit more thoroughly. Also, sorry in advance if my voice keeps changing. I keep voicing over my initial recording for reasons. Alright, so what I was gonna say that these last 2 spots, the one in the cabin here and the one on the cliff here, are like kinda stupid because this one is like probably literally the best spot in the entire game, and it also respawns on a 12-hour clock, which makes it like too cracked. So if you plan on doing artifacts every 12 hours, do this one, while this one is just literally useless. It has like nothing in it, and it's like an extra 2-minute run. For me, the last one is probably a hard skip If you're gonna skip anything, skip that one. The second part to Wangshan Inn is also fairly straightforward. All you gotta do is TP to the waypoint at Wangshan Inn, glide down to the dock. There should be an artifact spot on the very left side of it. After that, head towards the tea house next to the statue, and you should also find 2 spots. One next to some barrels and the other one next to the pile of suitcases. Also, if you want to, I guess you could rob this kid, right? Why not? I take pleasure in doing such things. Okay, next up is joining cars. This one is also fairly simple. Like Wangshan Inn, it's just like a road of artifacts and then you got one on the side. And once again, the treasure hoarder camp respawns on a 12-hour clock. First off, TP to the Leeway Talent Book domain. After that, keep following the staircase upwards until you see this one iron chunk. And when you see the iron chunk, just climb up the cliff, and there you should find the treasure hoarder camp. So it should be one in this tent. Why are you stripping, Eula? Today is not the day, please no. Okay, Diana clutch. And there should be one next to this pouch. That should also be an artifact spot. Next up, TP to the waypoint right next to the domain. Head down the path towards the hut, and in said hut you should find 3. One in these boxes, another one near this table, and the third one is right behind it. Continue down the path afterwards until you reach this hut with the 2 heli trolls sleeping in it. Alt F4 them and there should be a spot right there. Next up, TP to the waypoint further down the road. Do note that this teleport is optional, so if you're like on mobile and you have terrible load times, I suggest you just like keep walking down the path. Okay, so once you reach to this broken cart, you should find a bunch of broken carts and like wooden structures. Do note that only this one, and this one drop artifacts. The rest are just like energy particles and iron. Next up, we got Qingse Village and Wuang Hill. So for Qingse Village, teleport to this waypoint next to the community house. Turn around and you should find one behind the granny. You keep going, and there should be some in these pots, as well as the house here. Next up, TP to the corner of the map. Should be one in the corner of that house over there. Yoink. Alright, so for Wuhang Hill plus slash Stone Gate, there's a couple of options here. There's a lot of different routes and approaches you could have for these 3 spots, but what I'm about to show you is what I find to be the most efficient way. I also personally know some people that would just completely skip out on these locations when doing their artifact routes, mostly because they're like annoying and sort of hard to get. But in my opinion, ever since the 1.5 patch, it's actually quite easy now. I hope that made sense. Basically, to sum it up, these locations sometimes could get tricky, but ever since the 1.5 patch, I've sort of just found some ways to go around it. You could skip these if you want, but I suggest that you don't because it's actually quite easy and usually worth it. So TP to the waypoint next to Stone Gates. Grab the artifacts next to Pop's Tea, and now you have 2 options. One option is to go back and use the pressure plate there to create a wind current and glide up. But alternatively, if you don't have someone that could apply pressure plates, or you're just too lazy, you could also go back here, grab this iron here, and climb up the cliff here. climb the cliff, walk up to the edge, and just glide there as usual. After you reach this house, however way you wanted, there is one spot next to this table here. Alright, so next up is Dragon Spine. I know a lot of people hate Dragon Spine, but for artifacts, it's actually really good. There's two spots, one in the Star-Grown Cavern, and another one, it's in a cave underneath Ice Cube. They're both really straightforward, and this isn't confirmed or anything, but a lot of people, including myself, believe that Dragon Spine has a higher 2-star artifact drop rate. The only downside is that in order for these spots to open up, you need to complete the In the Mountains side quest for Dragon Spine. So TP to the waypoint to the left of Ice Cube. Hop over some rocks and go into the cave, and you should find 3 spots behind these ice slimes. Next up, teleport to the waypoint next to Star-Grown Cavern. This one is also fairly easy, just turn around and go into the cave. And take a right once you're here. Also, this little gap is kind of hard to squeeze through if your characters are tall, so just use Mona, squeeze through it, or like if you have a shorter character, you could also sprint through it. And you should find 4 spots here that usually drop 2 stars. Alright, so for this part of the video, I'm going to cover all the one-off spots that still drop artifacts, but doesn't exactly fit in a quote-unquote route. So for the first one, TP to the waypoint between Tanju Valley and Kriway Slope. Go down the valley towards Kriway Slope, and there you should find 3 artifact spots on broken wooden structures. Do note that they all respawn on a 12-hour clock. Next up, we have this location next to a leeway weapon level up talent domain. There isn't anything too special about this, besides it's the only one in which you teleport from a statue. So if you want to be a big brain like me, you could do this one last just to heal up your team in case they like somehow took damage when you were going for artifacts. Lastly, we have this one spot near Mount Tianhang. Honestly, this isn't exactly my favorite spot. I don't even bother to show up to it like 9 out of 10 times, but it exists, and I feel like you should know that. I will say it's next to a pretty okay mining spot, so I guess you could add it to your daily mining routine, like on the side. Also, just so you know, there are 3 NPCs in Genshin Impact that sell artifacts. I wouldn't exactly include them into the daily farming routine as their shop refreshes on a weekly basis, but I'm just here to let you know that they exist and you should probably buy from them. If you do so every week, you should be able to get an extra 25k artifact EXP. There is 2 in Liyue Harbor and 1 in Mondstadt. Also keep in mind that the 3rd location I'll be showing, the merchant only shows up at nighttime in-game, so you might need to use the in-game timer adjust for that. Anyways, that's it for the video, I suppose. I'd really appreciate it if you like and sub if you somehow found this useful. Also comment if you want me to do more Genshin related stuff. I really do enjoy playing the game. Yeah, I guess that's it.